After the 4-1 thrashing that England suffered at the hands of India in the 5-test series that took place in India, there has been a lot of obituaries written for Bazball, the aggressive, ultra-aggressive, dare I say, style of play that the England test team had looked to try and perfect, to try and use to very devastating effect. However, many would argue that in the quest for quick runs, the England team let go of some of the basic tenets of Test cricket, which is determination, which is the will to gut it out, which is the will to hang in there when things aren't going your way, and the will, more importantly, to show stout technique when you aren't able to get quick runs. They're all important facets of Test cricket, yet more often than not, when the chips were down, this England team only went one way. They looked to go hyper-aggressive, get a couple of runs, but then inevitably the crumbles would come as far as the number of wickets falling. And that's over. That's all she wrote as far as their series, which started so promisingly, with them winning the first test, ended up with a 4-1 test series loss. Now, interestingly, this is something that has come from the outside, as in its media analysis, fans, and the likes that have said this. But now, even head coach Brendon McCullum, the person after whom Bazball has been named, has said pretty much the same thing. Speaking to the media recently, he said that there were times when the England players appeared to get carried away with their own rhetoric. Now, what that means is he's saying that they spoke a big game to such an extent that we're going to play aggressive, we're going to go all out, and we're going to be attacking no matter the situation. Saying sometimes what happened is that they were doing that to such an extent that they ended up getting carried away, which meant that they were not playing according to the situation. Sometimes the situation demanded that you dig deep and look to attack later on in the game. And other times it required that you don't even look to defend, you just look to hang in there and hope for the best. England did neither. They just ramp up their attacking, no pun intended, and ensure that they could keep getting, let's say, big runs, even if it meant losing wickets in absolute clusters. But according to McCullum, a change could very well be on the way. Because he said that we will allow the dust to settle and the hurt to settle a bit, and then use that to make changes we need to ensure we're a better version of what we have started out as. What he's saying is that, listen, there's nothing particularly wrong with the way we've been playing as far as trying to bat aggressively, but maybe we need to make some tweaks. Maybe it doesn't need to be a one-size-fits-all approach. Maybe it doesn't need to be one-dimensional. Maybe it can be more smart and looking to be aggressive at the right times rather than looking to be aggressive all the time and then ending up with egg on your face. And in fact, even if you look at England's records, especially under the coaching and captaincy of Brendon McCullum and Ben Stokes respectively, you realize that some of those peaks, which were really, really good, always came against the so-called second-tier test teams. Why do I say that? Because if you're looking at the successes that they had under this whole Bazball technique or style, they played the first series that saw the genesis of Bazball was the 3-test series against New Zealand, which incidentally they won 3-0 at home. They then beat India in a one-off test at Edgbaston, which was a completion of the 2021 series, which you remember got suspended. Thereafter, they beat South Africa 2-1 in a test series, and last but not least, perhaps the crowning glory came in Pakistan, where they ended up whitewashing the hosts 3-0. On absolute flat road pitches, they made test batting seem like T20 batting. That, many would argue, was the pinnacle, was when Bazball looked at its most effective. But what about the failures that they've had? And there is one caveat which we'll get to, but first, let's look at the more clear and obvious ones. First off, they had the Ashes against Australia. It was 5 tests, and all they could do was draw 2-2. Many would argue, thanks no small part to their own stupidity, because the first 2 tests were basically thrown away from winning positions or thrown away due to some very dumb calls, and I use this word very politely, that were made by Ben Stokes and the coach. Then, of course, the magnum opus, 5 tests against India, start with a win, end up losing 4-1. Not a good look by any stretch of the imagination. So all of the big success that really came against the lesser test teams, against the 2 teams that you'd say operate on the same level as far as test cricket are concerned. Bazball ended up not meeting expectations, which is why perhaps Baz has said that, listen, it's time to take stock and it's time to try and evolve and not just try and do the same thing over and over again, to which I say, you know what, that's great, because there's nothing wrong with being aggressive. However, there is plenty wrong with being aggressive just for the sake of it. Test cricket, great as it is, has always been great because it demands patience, it demands grittiness, it demands the will to fight. And of course, when the situation calls for it, demands a bit of attacking cricket as well. But you need to have it all in a full package, not just be one-dimensional like the Bazball era England were. But what are your thoughts on the matter? Do you think they're going to make these changes? Do you think this is all lip service? You can let us know that in the comments below, and don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel, and tap that bell icon as well. Also follow us on social media. We're on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Don't forget to download the SportsTech app, and if you're already on the channel, go ahead, check out some other videos we've done as well. For now, from my side, it is goodbye.